Welcome to Within Reason with Bob Kerrigan. I'm Bill Rankin, sitting in for your host, Bob Kerrigan. I'm going to be with you tonight because Bob is unavailable. And I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about and studying about and has been brewing inside my brain, which is about to burst with this topic for a long time. And it is this. You know, the national government is much in the news. We've got the Hillary-Obama race, which is interesting and may get more interesting. We've got the subsidy package. We've got the subprime crisis. We've got all kinds of problems where the national government's involved. The national government gets all kinds of attention. Let's leave that aside. Let's leave that to the cable TV shows with their great production values. I want to step back and with the extra time we have, look at these issues, but let's start with what our national government is. I mean, because we've all grown up with this, most of us have grown up since the New Deal and just assume that the national government controls every aspect of your life. Well, it shouldn't. We've got a national government that has limited powers. The national government only has the powers given to it in the Constitution. And you're going to find, if you stay with us, that a lot of the things that Washington is doing are completely absent from the Constitution, completely unjustified. Here's the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, the last amendment in what's called the Bill of Rights. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. And the powers given to the national government by the Constitution are not much. Now, we find ourselves today, the founding fathers would spin around in their graves. The national government regulates the amount of water your toilets can flush. The national government funds a staff for the wife of the vice president with your money. The inevitable conclusion is that the national government is bigger and more intrusive than it was ever designed to be. Why do you say, well, so what? We got to have these things done. Why not do it at the national level? You know, student loans are good. Why don't we have student loans kind of managed at the national level? Here is what I hope to explain and advocate for. Because, as the founders realized, the further government gets from the people, the more remote, the more omniscient, the more unresponsive it becomes, the more opportunity for corruption and waste. It's so easy to find. These are some quick examples from some of the topics that I'd like to talk about tonight. Where does our money go? This is the Treasury's financial report for 2003. And it's in accounting speak, and it says things like unreconciled transactions affecting the change in net positions. Well, that doesn't mean much to me, and maybe it doesn't mean much to you. It amounts to $24.5 billion. This is for the year 2003, the last one I could find. But what it means is that the government has no idea where about $25 billion went. They know somebody spent it. They lost it. They don't know where it is. You might know that the war in Iraq consumes $500,000 a minute. So we've been on, let's say we've been on 5 minutes, that's $2.5 million. The payment on the national debt, with just interest payments, it doesn't buy anything, it's just paying for the use of the money that we've borrowed, exceeds those costs by a wide margin. It's about $400 billion a year, okay? And that's paid by you. Even if it doesn't get paid by you, it's going to hurt you. We've got a sugar program where sugar is subsidized for no reason than the sugar producers in Florida are pretty well connected to the politicians. It raises the cost of sugar. The producers of sugar in some of these emerging nations are really screwed, and it hurts our relationship with other countries. And you're paying for it. And maybe you didn't know about it. But it's just stupid. I mean, if somebody tried to explain it to you, so it's stupid. We don't want to do that. We don't want to pay more for sugar. It's not helping anybody. People don't save enough for their retirement. And that's, you know, the economists and planners agree with that. So in order to help them save for retirement, we'll give them some government money. Now, remember, the government doesn't have any money. The government just confiscates your money or borrows it. That's where they get it. They don't have it. But we're gonna kind of stimulate people to save for their retirement by giving them government money or tax breaks, which is the same thing. It's kind of hidden in tax breaks. Now, who's going to get this? The poor? No, not unless you define poor as making up to $100,000. That's Senator Clinton's plan. And I'm kind of picking on Senator Clinton. You could pick lots of examples, but she's most in the news, and by the way, I don't like her. And then we've got the stimulus package, the recent stimulus package, which really is about as crazy as somebody said, instead of the stimulus package, where you have to submit forms and the IRS has to mail checks, just load up government airplanes with $100 bills and just push them out, over the country. So they'll fall all over the place, because it'll be at least as fair and people will get exercise picking up the $100 bills. We're going to look at the stimulus package and see what it is and what it isn't and what it's going to do. And so what's the result of this craziness? It is a national debt of over $9 trillion, which comes to about 30 grand per man, woman, child, infant, elderly person. Last Sunday, it went from $9,330,000,000 to $9,343,000,000. Today, when I looked it up, and I just picked these at random, I'm not picking out days, these are the only times I looked it up, it went from $9,343,000,000 to $9,368,000,000,000. Whoa, that's an extra $25 billion in the last few days that you owe. But you can listen to politicians say, we're going to cut the deficit. Well, if you spend more money this month than you take in, and you had to borrow it, okay, that's a deficit. But that adds up and becomes your debt. Then you owe money. If you don't pay the debt back, the debt just goes up because of interest. Even if next month you don't have a deficit, the debt is going to continue to grow. And when they talk about taking the deficit, that's the amount by which the income is lower than the expenditures, the shortfall in government revenues, that's the deficit. But if the deficit went away, the debt would continue to grow. So they're talking about, it sounds so, we're going to cut the deficit in half. They're not going to cut the debt in half, and that's what you're paying interest on. So if we cut the deficit, this is a goal which, a goal they actually are making some progress on until the stimulus package came along. We're probably going to wind up with another $400 billion deficit to add to the debt you're paying, or your children are paying, your grandchildren are paying. If you think the national debt is going to be paid off in your lifetime, raise your hand, go stand in the corner. You are wrong. Your children's lifetime, highly unlikely. Your grandchildren's lifetime, I don't think so. Each citizen's share of the debt, as we already discussed, works out to around $30,000. So if the average American, let's say we got an average American family with 5 people in it, that's $150,000. If the average American family's net wealth, that means after you deduct liabilities, and if your house is worth $200,000 but you owe $150,000, then it's only worth $50,000. If your net wealth on average isn't $150,000, then the country's bankrupt. Then we're technically insolvent, which means if all the debt came due, we couldn't sell everything we own and pay it. Even if all Americans sold all they had, and we couldn't pay it. So we are broke as a country. Here's what we do about it. We have a little gumption and don't push all this off on our grandchildren. We tell our representatives we want a balanced budget amendment. We want a line item veto. Don't be spending all this money. Identify earmarks. They can't be anonymous. The rant is over. I have run out of time. Thank you for being with us, and good night.